It's Monday, and you know what that means. Jersey First TV probably brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk, and certainly I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, Top 50 Latino, as voted on by the Latino Spirit online magazine, along with the United States Latino Affairs Initiative. And ladies and gentlemen, now more than ever, I'll continue to be the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media because my level of honesty is truly necessary in this era of journalistic deception. And without a doubt, I'll continue to be your favorite conservative. That's right, folks. It's Fernando, your Uribe. Once again, happy Monday to you all. We appreciate you tuning in here on Jersey First TV. Of course, click that share button because sharing is caring. And I want to thank you once again for tuning in from wherever and however you may be doing so this, the 8th of April, as we continue here with the month, folks. A lot to talk about in New Jersey politics. And of course, you know, hey, listen, I can't say enough how grateful I am to all of you that tune in every single week. And you make it a point to check out all of our social media platforms. So don't forget to like us on Facebook, of course. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And for all of you YouTube subscribers, hey, click the subscribe button and you'll be automatically notified of all the wonderful content brought to you by Jersey First every single week. And of course, whether you get your podcast on Spotify or SoundCloud, download Jersey First. And once again, whether you're walking your dog as the days are getting a little bit longer with the sun, it's getting a little bit warmer. Maybe you are doing errands, going for that late afternoon jog or run. Whatever it is you're doing, folks, guess what? You have your smartphone on you. Why not check out Jersey First anywhere at any time? And I can't say enough, ladies and gentlemen, how proud I am to be on the dream team of Garden State Media. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's always Jersey First TV. Brand new episodes of The Nader Narrative, hosted by the amazing Elizabeth Nader, premiere every Thursday. And brand new episodes of Bridging the Gap with AJ Malillo and Stephen Rumballo also premiere every Thursday. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, brand new episodes come to you live every Monday night here with Real Talk with Fernando Uribe via Jersey First TV. Folks, a lot to cover today. Got a great guest coming up in just a few moments. But you definitely want to stick around, folks, because again, you know what? I don't mean to brag, but once again, amazing traffic in the month of March here as we continue in 2024. 17,000 plus views, all organic, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing boosted, no ads paid for. Okay, everybody's watching live every Monday night and sharing the replays. And again, because of all of you, this exceptional traffic continues here on Jersey First TV. Again, folks, we continue through 2024. We did it throughout 2023. We did it throughout 2022 since we started with Jersey First TV. Folks, again, I can't thank you enough, and I'm truly humbled by your support. And again, you know, I'm not the most humble guy around. I'll talk more about this a little bit later. And also, folks, you want to stick around for final thoughts because I'll also be talking about my amazing Alzheimer's awareness event coming to you on Friday night, April the 26th from the world-famous Lolita's Mexican Cantina in North Bergen, New Jersey. All proceeds benefit Alzheimer's New Jersey. They're an amazing organization. You can check out their website at www.alznj.org. We'll be collecting, obviously, donations that evening. Wonderful raffles at 50/50. Valet parking's available. Amazing music by DJ Ziggy Roman. Folks, you can always rely on the incredible menu and beverage selections at Lolita's. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. And also, folks, I want to talk about Hoboken Mayor Ravi Bala. And just when you think that Ravi Bala can't get any more despicable, he never ceases to amaze us. I'm going to cover a little bit more about him later during Final Thoughts. You definitely want to stick around about that one because, folks, there's a lot to say about Ravi Bala. And when isn't there, folks? When someone's that despicable, he gives you plenty of material all the time. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, once again, during Final Thoughts. But, folks, joining me here live tonight, it's election season. And you know what? There's, I don't know if you've heard, there's a highly contested U.S. Senate race here in New Jersey coming up, not just during the primary, but later on this November. One of the candidates running for the Republican Party and the Republican nomination coming up on June the 8th. She's the mayor of the Mendham Borough Township in really northwest New Jersey, out there in Morris County, folks. And she's a U.S. Senate candidate, a big fan of the show as well, folks. She joins me here tonight live. She is Mayor Christine Serrano Glassner. Join us here on Real Talk. Mayor, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Fernando?
Good to have you on here, Mayor. And once again, folks, check out her website, ChristineForNJ.com. That's Christine, FORNJ.com. You're looking to donate and get involved on a volunteer basis with her campaign. Mayor, I have to say, I watched your performance, recently with the New Jersey Globe, along with Save Jersey, of course, ONNJ, obviously news, and what was supposed to be a debate between yourself and businessman Curtis Bashaw ended up not happening, but you handled yourself really, really well, I thought. You answered some tough questions, especially from someone as insufferable as Micah Rasmussen from the Rebovich Institute at Rider University. I mean, this clown can't help himself, but let's not focus on him. Let's focus on your performance and your handle of the issues. And I got to say, I was really, really impressed with your performance on Wednesday. Obviously, I know you'll be doing other debate type formats probably before the June 8th primary. How did you feel going into the debate recently?
I felt great. It was a shame that my opponent chickened out. He was supposed to be a part of that debate. He had committed to be a part of that debate. And at the last minute, he said, "Oh, I don't think I need to do it." Well, I don't think it was that he didn't need to do it. I think that he was afraid to do it. He was afraid that I was going to call out the fact that he really is an anti-Trump candidate. And I am your America First candidate here in New Jersey. I am pro-Trump. I'm not ashamed of that. And I believe that what we need right now in this country, because we see what's happening in this country, we see the damage economically, security, safety. I mean, look at the crime going on, and this is Biden with blood on his hands. And so this is a big part of why I'm doing this. This is why we need solid, common sense candidates to run and take these seats, so that way we can return peace and prosperity, safety for families, people that feel like they have a future in this country, and certainly in New Jersey. And so that's what I'm doing. And, if my opponent doesn't have the courage to stand up in just a little tiny debate, how's he going to stand up to, Washington and the swamp and the bullies that are down there? You need somebody who's tough. And that's me. And I think I've proved it. And I'm going to prove it again.
Mayor, interesting perspective there. Let me ask you again, not just in my capacity as a broadcast journalist, but I'm also an academic. So I'm always thinking like a chess game, 4 or 5 moves ahead. Hypothetically, let's just offer a devil's advocate argument, right? Now, again, it depends on what happens with the litigation that's ongoing about the county line, right? It seems to be a big topic of conversation. Obviously, for the Democrat Party, it seems to be a big topic of conversation for the Republican Party statewide, right? Some county clerks haven't withdrawn any appeals about it. We'll see what happens ultimately about the county line. But, there are some out there, Mayor, that would say, hey, listen, devil's advocate argument, your opponent has won, I think, maybe a few more county lines. So from his perspective, maybe he didn't want to debate because he sees it as an advantage right now. What do you say to people that might just come up to you and sort of throw out that perspective, hypothetically?
I think this whole county line argument, I believe, has shed light on the fact that not every county, but you certainly have some where it's very much controlled within that system. And the folks that vote at the convention are just the county committee members. They're important, but they do not represent all of the voters. And they also do not necessarily vote the way they want to, because I have many of them that told me they felt pressured in terms of how they vote. So I don't think that our system is necessarily representative. And we've seen it time and time again, that just because you win at the county level in the convention doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win at the ballot booth or on vote by mail or early vote. And I want to restate that. Vote every way you can. It doesn't matter whether it's vote by mail, whether you're voting early. It's actually preferable if you do that, because a lot of times you go in on election day and these booths are not always working properly. They're on, they're off. So if you vote early, you take care of that, and you don't have to worry about showing up and then not being able to vote or vote provisionally. But vote any way you can. And I'm just not going to worry about the way this line shakes out. My goal is to focus on this race, not let something like that distract me. And that's what we've been doing. And we're going to continue to do that, especially since we got into this race. I'm doing this for the people in New Jersey. I'm doing this for the country. And I'm going to continue to work hard to do that.
Understood, Mayor. Let me ask you about some policy things. I know that recently during the appearance with the New Jersey Globe, along with Save Jersey, the panelists really, it was a lot of good questions there. But one that really stood out for me was from New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein. And this is an issue that's very personal to me, Mayor, and I'm very concerned about Supreme Court justices. And I very much am a fan of the 6-3. And I hate to call, liberal or conservative. No, I like to call them a 6-3 constructionist majority. They're interpreting the law as is, not how you feel. That's like sort of like the liberal interpretation, right? And it drives me crazy. I'm not an attorney, but again, as an academic, I look at this and say, hey, what the 45th president did during his 4 years were pick really 3 great justices. And we've seen court decisions, again, that I'm a fan of. The Second Amendment case in New York, the affirmative action case, the religious freedom case. I mean, there are cases that this constructionist Supreme Court majority has ruled on that I'm a fan of. So to me, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here, Mayor, but I would argue this is probably the most consequential presidential election of my adult life, because whoever the next president is going to be could possibly have the possibility of picking 1 or 2 justices. Again, some of them are getting up there in age. And as far as I'm concerned, I trust Donald Trump to pick Supreme Court justices a hell of a lot better than Joe Biden, because we saw one pick he had and she was atrocious. I picked, again, I look at Donald Trump as a better president picking judges. And I think that in this election, again, you're vying for a seat in the United States Senate. Senate confirmations is what matters. Now is more important than ever, Mayor, that we need a red United States Senate. We need a red majority. Otherwise, we can't, God forbid, Sleepy Joe gets reelected. The last thing we need or can afford is allowing Joe Biden another pick at the Supreme Court. We can't afford that. And I'm not being hyperbolic either, man.
We can't, Fernando, you make such a good point. And it's really, you said the right word. It's about emotion. We do have a good mix. I think you're right. But what we don't need are justices that think or vote with their emotion and their knee-jerk reaction. This is about the Constitution. It's that simple. This is about weighing whether legislation is compliant, is in concert with our Constitution, not about how we feel about the issue in the moment. And you're absolutely right that President Trump, he picked the right people.
You did?
I think they're common sense people. I think they think the process through very thoroughly. I think that they were beat up pretty significantly during their confirmation hearings, and they survived that. So they showed that they were tough and that they stick to the issues. That's what we want in people. I don't think we want somebody who is going to be swayed with the current trends, because the trends go away, right?
Yeah.
And so you're right. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, but it's the same thing with anything these days. People are viewing their opinions on things through a very emotional lens. And what I see since COVID is people have become hypersensitive. So there's this lack of common sense, which is why I think we've swayed so far to the left on a lot of issues and decisions that have been made. You are also right when it comes to Biden. I don't even want to suggest that he's going to get in for another 4 years, because God forbid, what is going to happen to this country? I mean, we've gone so far to the liberal side. How much further can we go? I don't know, but I know that every time we do that, the economy suffers. People can't afford gas. And they keep saying, you know what? The economy is great. There's nothing wrong with it. Well, no, I think that because they reference the stock market. Most of the people I know in New Jersey, they don't own stocks. They can't afford to. It's a very small percentage of people that are doing well because of the stock market. It's the everyday costs that are impacting people. And so to make sure that Biden doesn't end up with the trifecta, right?
Yeah.
Him, the Senate, and the House, that's the only way we can assure that we have some kind of balance. We've got to get President Trump in there, and we need to take the Senate. And that's why I'm doing this.
And to your point about the Supreme Court, again, how important it is. I mean, listen, just last month, the Supreme Court unanimously, right, ruled correctly. Even the liberal justices had to sort of go along with the constructionist ones, where, hey, there are states in this country, Mayor, that thought it was legally acceptable to keep a candidate off the ballot during an election. That's stuff that happens in Cuba, where my mom was born, okay, where it's communist rule, okay, or in socialist countries in South America, where my dad was born. That shouldn't happen. It's funny about the left and Democrats and progressives that always talk about democracy and being champions for democracy. Well, be about it consistently. And again, obviously, constitutional scholars like Micah Rasmussen thought that it was not the right decision, right? But whatever. But the point is that this is how important the Supreme Court is. Long after a president has left office, these are justices that are deciding cases that are going to affect our way of life, Mayor, for years to come. And I think that, again, you saw what happened when Joe Biden was able to nominate, Ketanji Jackson. I mean, she's a joke. If you watch that confirmation hearing, it was awful. But if you remember when President Trump nominated 3 good jurists, you saw, the typical clowns, Cory Booker, then Kamala Harris as senator, and all these Democrats on the confirmation committee, giving these people a hard time, but they didn't give someone like Ketanji Jackson a hard time. So now more than ever, I agree with you. We need a Republican majority in the Senate because, again, God forbid Joe Biden gets back into office. The only checks and balances we could have, Mayor, is that a Republican-led Senate can keep him in line and not allow him to sort of really, I think, pollute the jurist pool, not just on the Supreme Court, but also in appellate judges and all these federal judgeships these are lifetime appointments.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Another point of that, though, is people will ask me and they'll say, well, why aren't Republicans putting up solid legislation in the Senate? And I said, well, it's not that they're not putting it up. It's that it's all in Schumer's office. Yeah. And he's, we get blamed, right? Oh, it's the Republicans for what's going on down at the border. No. They're not coming out with this legislation to be voted on. That's a big problem. So
and by the way, Mayor, I'll let you finish. I'm sorry. Okay. What people forget about Joe Biden is on the very first day of office on January 20th, 2021, he undid via executive order, every immigration policy that was working under his predecessor. And now Sleepy Joe has the audacity to question, well, why is the border a mess? Because you made it a mess with a stroke of a pen. It's mind-boggling to me, Mayor, how the establishment media, which is garbage in New Jersey anyway, but also nationally, that doesn't understand that Joe Biden's to blame for millions of illegals flooding across the border, committing crime in our cities, which is what's happening. And again, it seems like people are so disconnected from things that are just perfectly obvious, Mayor. I'm sorry, I'll let you.
Yeah, Fernando, I mean, now that you're under the border, I just have to address this. And I said this in the debate. Joe Biden is the world's largest sex and drug trafficker.
Correct.
And people think that the people that are coming into this country are coming in safe and unharmed. They are not. Women are being raped that are coming into this country during their journey. You have children that are being hurt, children that are being raped. It is a terrible, terrible thing that he is doing, not just to this country, but to these victims, these people that are being victimized by the cartels and the coyotes and whoever else is, transferring these people over here. And it's all about money. It's all about money. Now, his motivation, I don't know, but for the president to say, and I'm talking President Biden, for him to say, oh, all of this is the fault of Republicans because Congress won't pass something. He's had the power all along. It makes me think, does he not know what his job is? And you just mentioned it. He knows because he got rid of the executive orders. He's got the power of the executive order. He could have stopped this a long time ago. So it's not just people in this country. And you think of the young women that are being raped and murdered in this country. Young college girls, 14-year-old.
Yeah.
How do you answer for that? That's blood on his hands. And he wants to blame somebody else. Leadership means standing up and assuming responsibilities for whatever the action is. He took the action or the inaction. He needs to take responsibility for it. Just like my opponent, frankly, who, and I don't mean to get off subject, but my opponent who cheated on his taxes for 10 years in New York with an apartment claiming that he had New York State residency status. And it may not seem like a big deal, but it says a lot about his leadership character because he didn't assume responsibility for it. He blamed it on his management company. And one thing I know is that we are each responsible for our own taxes, not some management company. So it's that kind of leadership that we don't have in Joe Biden. We will not have, certainly in my opponent. And we need solid, common sense leaders that are not afraid to stand up, that have the courage to say, hit me with your best shot, but I'm not doing this for me. I'm not Bob Menendez, who did this to make a buck, to get some gold bars in my pocket. I'm not other senators that do this basically for celebrityism and power. I mean, Joe Biden puts power before people's lives. That's all he cares about. We need common sense, strong people that are qualified for the job to get in because they want to do the job. They want to get in and deliver, in this case for me, back to New Jersey. This is what I have always done. This is my background and my experience. I've got over 20 plus years in executive level government experience. I come from a working class background, frankly. My husband and I, we support our family through our own small business. I get the whole spectrum. That's what we need. Somebody that actually cares about people. It doesn't look at it this high level. Oh, look at me. I'm now a celebrity, or now I'm cutting backdoor deals, to make a buck on the side. We've got to return to common sense for the people. That's what we need to do.
Fair enough, Mayor. Folks, if you just joined us live here right now on Jersey First TV, click that share button because sharing is caring. My guest tonight is Mendham Borough Mayor and U.S. Senate candidate for the Republican Party in 2024, Christine Serrano. Glassner join us here on Real Talk. Mayor, going through your website and going through my notes here, another big component of your campaign is about foreign affairs. That's another topic that really hits home for me. We're seeing this Congress, we're seeing this Senate just sort of keep giving money away to countries like Ukraine in a war that seems to be endless with Russia. I personally, again, I'm someone that not necessarily an isolationist, but that's not our problem. Let's worry about Americans. We're sending billions of dollars to a corrupt regime like President Zelensky in Ukraine when we have seniors and veterans and kids with autism and, families across the country struggling to pay for groceries. All these billions of dollars that we're sort of just sending overseas, it's like we're printing money. Again, it's not something that sits well with me. Again, I care about Americans first. I don't care about Ukraine. I don't care how cruel that sounds. I care about Americans. And it just seems like under this administration with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they're happy to send billions of dollars overseas. And it seems like Democrats, of course, and some Republicans are willing enablers. What can you tell us about your position in the sense, should you get elected, should you win in June during the primary and then win hopefully this November? What does a typical day going to look like for U.S. Senator Glassner in January of 2025 when it comes to foreign affairs?
No, you said it all, Fernando. We are taking care of everybody but our own. We've got homeless vets that we're not taking care of. We have seniors that can't afford prescriptions. We have to take care of our own. What the liberals like to do is they like to recreate the definition of words, right? And they think that they own definitions. We are about the world, which is why we help so many other countries. But to take care of everybody else before we take care of the people in this country, none of that makes sense. And it certainly doesn't make sense to the voter anymore. The Ukraine is very important, but look what's happened. Hundreds of billions of dollars. Have we accounted for that? Do we know where the money is going? Do we have a plan?
It's going to President Zelensky's probably new summer home somewhere in the Swiss Alps.
But we do know, in fact, it's paying some people's salaries. No, the point of that is supposed to help them specifically fight that war with the right kind of equipment and ammunition. We're dealing with the UN. The UN has 90%, right? The European nations have 90% of the vulnerability, but they've only contributed 10%. Where are they on this? Now, I know that they recently have come out with a statement saying, we realize now that the U.S. has been withholding this funding, we're going to have to pony up more. It's about time. This is what needed to happen, that we withheld that funding until they step up and start doing something. This can all not be on our shoulders alone. We cannot be shouldering the whole world like this. We need to start putting more money into our border, not just for our own country, but for these poor people that are being victimized. To think that they can come over here and we will continue to be able to afford to take care of people over and over and over for years, not knowing that these people will ever be able to support themselves. Completely unreasonable. Actually, somebody was just telling me, I have no idea if this is true. We pay lots and lots and lots of money to these bus companies that are transporting them around. And this is the government, our federal government, that's paying for all of this. To air flights, they said coming where I am now, they saw young children and they could tell because of their backpack and the tags that they had on that these are kids that are being transported, right? That costs money, and these kids were in first class seats. Can you imagine what this is costing us? The hotels that they stay in, they all had new clothes, and I do not begrudge them from being taken care of. That's really not the point. They need to be taken care of back in their own country.
Correct.
Not here. And so they were telling me that literally these FBOs that fly them around on these private jets have started saying, you know what, you stopped paying us and we can't do this anymore. Because I think it's possible they're actually running out of funds. Think of the millions of people that we're now taking care of. Where does the money come from? We're how many trillions of dollars in debt? 30 some odd? I mean, that would tell you that we're broke, right?
I mean, perfect example. I mean, again, I live in Hudson County. I look at Manhattan every day. I mean, look at the mess in New York City with that disastrous mayor. We're talking about millions of dollars giving out, basically gift cards to illegals, and
$10,000 gift card.
And somehow New Yorkers aren't revolting. I don't understand how people aren't revolting against this. It's mind-boggling to me.
Well, even when they come into this country and not into New York, they're being given thousands of dollars, seven or 8,000 a person. They get a phone. They get it all. They're getting accommodations. We're not helping our own homeless with that. You know what we're doing to our homeless? Maybe that's why they're allowing all this fentanyl to come in. They want to kill off all of our homeless so they can take care of these other people. How about if we start taking care of the people that they are making dependent on fentanyl? How about if we do that? I mean, there was an article yesterday. These people's lives are destroyed. Cut off the source. Cut it off. Close that border. Let's start again from scratch and figure out a logical, legal immigration process that works, not just for us, but for other countries as well.
Well said, Mayor. Another topic I want to pick your brain about, I know you're a small business owner, and it seems like a very cliche-ish word come every election season. But, the economy. We know inflation is still suffocating Americans. Listen, less and less people are buying homes. I talk to realtors every day here in New Jersey. Homes aside from just the unaffordability coming out of Trenton with the emperor here that we have for our governor, but on a national level, inflation is suffocating Americans. It is preventing Americans from buying homes, from leasing vehicles. These interest rates are suffocating Americans. Realistically, again, and I'm not trying to be, sort of combative here, but every election cycle we hear people at the federal level talk about the economy and combating inflation. What do you think, again, as a business owner, what is a realistic approach in trying to reduce inflation and trying to stimulate the economy? Again, should you be victorious, hopefully this November, and hopefully flipping, to a Republican majority in the Senate, ultimately in your capacity as a senator, what can you do to at least combat these topics like inflation, like the economy, like taxes? What do you feel confident about that you can bring to the United States Senate?
So, I think, Fernando, that people have a tendency to overcomplicate this. You look at your own home budget, right? I look as a mom at my family budget. As a mayor, I look at my town budget. Yeah. It's really simple. We have been foolishly overspending for too long now. You have to, basic budget principles. You have to look at what's going out versus what's coming in. And it doesn't make any sense with what this administration, the Biden administration, has been doing. They're spending our grandchildren's future, not just our children, but our grandchildren. We need to cut down on that spending. It has to be logical, and we must have a plan, because they have not had a plan for anything they do. You go back to the Ukraine for a second, right? Is there any plan as to when that's going to stop, or what the measurement is? No, there's no plan. Is there a plan with the border when they're going to stop that? There's no plan. So that's the first thing in any budgeting, right? And then we need more income in this country. And so what does that mean? We need to go back to producing our own energy and having the ability to sell that. So what does that mean? Drilling oil. It's okay that for us, that we've shut down coal plants in this country for the sake of the climate. And yet at the same time, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden's best friend in China, they've opened up 300 coal plants. Funny to me that it doesn't seem to be a problem for their climate, but it's an issue for ours. We need to look at options that are all of the above. I am not against green energy by any means, but we can't think that on this turn of a dime, we can shut everything else down and turn green energy on, and it's going to work. I look at New Jersey alone, and they passed legislation recently, new legislation for affordable housing. And affordable housing is really important, and we know that. But what we don't need is overbuilding and dense housing in order to get affordable housing.
Correct.
And this bill was passed to benefit developers. They have their fingerprints all over this. And I thought, I was making this comparison and saying to myself, now, here is this big push, right, in this state that we need, and bear with me, follow my storyline.
Sure.
That we need everybody to drive electric vehicles, right? And so we put a deadline out in the future. Everybody, we've got to have X percentage of electric vehicles. Well, that takes electricity, and that takes a grid that is reliable, which we don't have here in New Jersey. We have an outdated grid. But on top of that, they now have passed this affordable housing legislation, and they've committed that they're going to build 100,000 to 200,000 affordable units. Well, that means well over 1 million units, right? Because it's about dense development. How are you going to provide electricity for all of those units and have everybody drive
Correct.
an electric vehicle? It's the lack of planning. That is really what is destroying our economy. And that's the first thing. As a senator, I'm going to fight for. They deliver these omnibus bills that I don't think a single member of the House or the Senate can possibly know what's in these things. Certainly, there's a lack of transparency to the American people.
Certainly.
Who knows where the pork is going? That needs to be curbed significantly. We need to cut way back. It's what you would do in your own home if you were overspending and you couldn't pay your bills. Do you think how do you think Uncle Sam would feel if you started to produce money out of your basement to pay for your overspending? I don't think he would like it too much. I think you'd find the FBI on your door, or I think it's the Secret Service who manages counterfeiting.
Correct. Yes, that's right. Yeah. No.
Right? It is a Secret Service. But, at any rate, it's the same thing in towns. And here's one of the things that people don't realize. As a mayor, I can tell you, when your costs are going up in your home, we're not exempt from that. When your cost goes up for gasoline, we buy hundreds, maybe thousands of gallons of gasoline a year. That means the cost goes up for us.
Yep.
As the municipality. Well, who pays for the municipality? The taxpayer, the homeowners. That means that they're getting hit twice. Not just twice. Same thing goes on for their county taxes. Same thing goes on for their school taxes. They're getting hit multiple times with this kind of inflationary time. So there's only one answer. The spending must be cut back. We've got to review programs that we may not need to spend as much money on or are ready for streamlining. And we need to take a look at our future and the planning and bringing new income in, which in this case for the federal government, the most logical thing, and it's easy. You said it before. On day one, Biden basically wrote the plan for us. He came in and reversed everything. He shut down the Keystone Pipeline. He opened up the border. That's going to have to be reversed. We need to return to President Trump's sound economic and national security policies.
Correct.
And on day one, through executive order, there's a lot that he's going to be able to accomplish. And as I said before, I guess Biden didn't understand that he could do that as president and could have fixed some of these problems. That's my answer. And that's what I will do as a senator.
Well said, Mayor. Mayor, I got to ask the question. I know that last week, when during the more town hall structure, it wasn't really a debate. You didn't have an opponent. It was more like a structure, a town hall with a panel and moderators. And again, shout out to everybody there. Michael Rasmussen from the Uribe-April Institute at Rider University, asked you that sort of question that I think every Republican is going to get asked during this election cycle, whether you're running for a Senate seat in New Jersey, Wyoming, Florida, whoever. It seems like, and it's interesting because many on the left and progressives and Democrats talked about election integrity in 2016, right? Wasn't there a lot of bitching and moaning about election integrity? And did Donald Trump really win? And, perhaps we should question the integrity of this election in 2016. I heard a lot of people in New Jersey media and national media that were all about questioning election results, and nobody said a peep about them. But come 2020, it becomes sort of a political football that maybe gets a little too hot to handle. I know you were asked a question about the election results in 2020. I know since then, I'm sure maybe you've got your phone's been bombarded with messages. Maybe you've gotten some phone calls. Let's sort of nip this in the bud once and for all. How do you feel about the 2020 election results? I know you were asked that question on Wednesday. I'm going to ask it a little bit differently because, I'm a better, interviewer and moderator than Micah Rasmussen. But when you look at the election results of 2020, what did not sit well with you? And moving forward, are there ways to maybe rectify some of the, inequities or maybe inaccuracies that exist within our electoral system?
Yeah, I'm so glad to have the opportunity to take this question on again. And first of all, I want to say, I've been to Ryder a couple of times since I've been campaigning, and it is a beautiful campus. They have an absolutely beautiful building there. It's a lovely school. There's a little plug for Ryder. It's interesting because days after my opponent came out with an answer, and I thought, well, it's really easy to ruminate and have your staff build an answer for you that is a safe answer and have days to do that. It's a whole different story when you put yourself on the line and you've got to answer these hot questions and these hot button questions right then and there. And so to have a chance to talk about this is great. I was asked if I would have voted to certify. And I said no. And the reason is this, because at that time, and this is what I remember, there were some very sound, logical senators that did not vote to certify. My reasoning was this, and it's this, and I said it in I answered another question. If we have that much contentiousness in this country, they had time to send it back to some of these states and say, they had 2 weeks. Go take another look and come back again. There should have been no reason that they couldn't have done that. They could have taken another week before they took that vote. That was my feeling, basically.
Okay.
We have, when we have these issues, and what happened exactly in 2020? We had COVID. And so you had governors in some of these states that threw the rules out the window, right? And suddenly there was vote by mail to everybody that they hadn't had before. So they didn't have controls in place. There was voter box where we saw stuffing. And, I talked in the beginning about that Democrat mayoral race this past year where they have video of people stuffing the ballot boxes, right? With many more. You're allowed to do 3, many more than 3. So we know that there were those problems. We have it in New Jersey. And there should be nothing wrong with shedding light for either party to say, there are some issues. There are issues with these machines at times. I can tell you, even in Morris County, many of these machines on election day, they work for a little while, then they're not working. It needs to be looked at. We need to fix this. I can tell you there are problems with the voter rolls. I know for a fact in my own town, there are 2 people on the voter rolls, and I have myself tried to get them off. They haven't lived in this country. They are Canadians. They haven't lived in this country since 1974.
Wow.
One of which was 11 years old when he left and has never come back here, never got a driver's license here or anything. And I know him. So I've asked him, why is he on the voter rolls? And to be honest with you, they're registered as Republicans. They haven't voted here in years. There are problems, and it's all over the country, right? We had a woman in her, 120 some odd years old in Morris County that, they had a registered vote from her, vote by mail. That could have been questioned. Now I get the fact that you can't necessarily question each and every single vote. I understand that. But we need to look at it wholesale. And bottom line, and I think many of us know this and many of us feel this way, if you have to show an ID to fly, well, that's right. Not if you're an illegal and you don't have an ID.
That's right, yeah.
You can fly. You have to show an ID to go and buy alcohol. You have to show an ID to buy cigarettes. You have to show an ID for so many things, right? You've got to have a driver's license to drive. This is one of the most important and precious assets that we own is our ability to vote. It's so incredibly important.
Yeah.
Why don't you have to show an ID for that? I mean, it's certainly something that should be considered, right?
And Mayor, by the way, and I'll let you finish your point, but what drives me crazy about the left and about progressives and all these activists and a lot of journalists in New Jersey that seem to get triggered when anyone says, hey, voter ID and you should present an ID to vote. Oh, it's racist. Again, let me give the audience a little bit of an education here. I just got something in the mail to renew my license. Okay. Perfect example. Okay. And that's an ID. Yes, I operate a motor vehicle. It's renewed every 4 years for $24. Okay. So that's every 4 years for $24. You could literally save $1 a month for 2 years, and that will pay your license when it's up for renewal. If you cannot find a way to muster up $24 in 4 years, I hate to break it to you, you got bigger problems.
Well, then,
okay?
So the fact is, we know you shouldn't be driving if you don't have a license, but there's other forms of legal ID.
Absolutely. And those are more affordable. Those are $18. So again, if you cannot prioritize your identity, your ID, then I'm sorry, then you don't prioritize voting. And this idea that poor people, it's so disingenuous by Democrats and the left and the liberal media that think that poor people can't get an ID or that they somehow, it's not racist. It's not, again, if you can't afford $18 in 4 years, you got bigger problems than voting in an election. I hate to break it to people, and that's not being racist or classist or whatever. It's priorities. You care about your ID, you should want to have an ID. We should be asking people to present an ID when voting.
There's lots of forms of IDs, and like even Morris County has senior citizen IDs. If you're not driving, it doesn't have to be one. But here's the important thing: as two parties, we should be able to come together and talk about this. We should be able to come together and say, look, there's issues in this area of voting. There's issues in this area of voting. Let's clean it up. Let's tighten it up. Why should there be a problem with that? Why should we be afraid to look at it and say we should shine a light on it and get it cleaned up, and then everybody will feel comfortable with it? But you're absolutely right. Why do liberals feel like this is, it's another thing that they feel they're entitled to define for us?
Correct.
Election integrity. And they view it as something that's racist. And it's like, no, it's not. No. It's normal that you have processes that are changing and you need a check and balance. The voting system has been changing, especially since COVID. We should have checks and balances. It's just that simple.
I agree. Mayor, let me ask you this, because it would seem that current U.S. representative out of the 3rd Congressional District, Andy Kim, is the front runner for the Democrat Party. It would seem that he's going to win the primary June 8th over his two remaining laughable opponents. It would seem that, should you win on June 8th and be the Republican nominee up against Andy Kim this November, why should we be concerned about Andy Kim? Should he be the Democrat candidate for the United States Senate? What makes you a better choice than Andy Kim from what we're seeing presently right now?
No, it's simple. Joe Biden. Andy Kim has supported and endorsed and voted for everything that Joe Biden has done to this country and, frankly, the globe. I mean, look, 3.5 short years. Look what's happening in the world today. Andy Kim has been a part of that. He's been a part of all of that. He can't run and hide, right? He needs to own up to it. People want to know, and I think that voters, regardless of what your party, you need to take a look at how all of this has impacted your own personal life, and then look down towards the future and ask yourself, if this continues, what's going to happen to myself, my family, my friends, my children, my grandchildren? What will these futures look like? Because it does not look good now, and it's not changing for the better. It is not. Andy Kim's been a part of that, and he can own that. He needs to answer to the voter for that.
Mayor, do you feel confident, should you win on June 8th and again proceed into the election season up against Andy Kim? Again, he seems like the front runner. It seems like most likely he'll be the Democrat nominee. I know that there's a big fundraising disadvantage. I mean, it seems like Andy Kim wakes up in the morning and breathes, and he's already like fundraising. It just seems like he's really raking in a lot of money. I know this past week with the panelists with the New Jersey Globe and Save Jersey and everyone else, you talked about right now that, fundraising for you is sort of a slow process. Do you feel confident once, should you win the primary on June 8th, that both the NJGOP or even the RNC are going to get behind you and help you raise money in a race where, let's be honest, it's New Jersey, it's expensive. You're literally between two major media markets, Philadelphia, the dump of North America, as I like to refer to it, and New York City. Do you feel confident you can maybe kind of make it competitive when it comes to fundraising dollars, Mayor?
Well, competitive is a good word, but here's what I know, and we've seen this many times over. Congressman Tom Kaine won his seat, and they outspent him 2-1. Hillary Clinton outspent Trump 2-1. So absolutely, the Democrats have always been extremely successful in raising lots and lots of money. I am not worried about my ability to raise money. It may have been slow up until this point, but it's been slow across the board for Republicans across the country. I'm not worried about necessarily working with NJGOP or the RNC, because we've seen in the past when the RNC, we saw this with Jack Ciattarelli's race.
Yeah.
They could have and should have gotten involved, and they didn't. I have connections way beyond that.
Okay.
And it's one of the things I'm working on right now, which is why I'm coming to you from a hotel room. I'm confident, and I know that the money will come in.
Mayor, when we think about this race, I mean, there seems to be sort of this variable that within the last few weeks has become almost a possibility. And we know that exactly a month before the primary, the current United States Senator, senior Senator Bob Menendez, will be going to trial. And obviously, he's announced he's not running for re-election in the sense of, as a Democrat, not running in the primary. He feels confident he can either be acquitted or, again, all it takes is one juror, as I talk about on the show all the time. I believe in due process. I believe in due process for Donald Trump. I also believe in due process for Bob Menendez. I mean, you can't be about due process when it's convenient. And all it takes is one juror, Mayor, to believe that, the Department of Justice has it in for Bob Menendez, that the FBI has it in for Bob Menendez. It's not unlikely for a jury pool to sit there and be like, I don't really trust the FBI. Why should we? Or trust the DOJ. He could very well either get acquitted or it could be a hung jury. He's, there's rumors about him floating a possible independent run later this November. Some people would say, Mayor, that if Bob Menendez gets into this race as an independent, it could help you, because Republicans always seem to be behind the 8 ball. And it's been well over more than 50 years since the Republicans have been elected to the U.S. Senate. Are you, not necessarily concerned, but when you hear those whispers that maybe Bob Menendez going in as an independent could help you if you're the Republican nominee, how do you feel about that? Or when you've heard these whispers, what's been your response, if any?
I agree with you 100%, due process, and I've said it from the beginning. It was very interesting to me to watch all these Democrats rush in and say, oh, you got to step down. You have to step down. And I thought, isn't that convenient for them? Because they didn't want the stench anywhere around them. And I'm talking about the same people that have enabled him, that have funded him all these years. They all knew. It was certainly not a secret in New Jersey. He even said himself, this is how we do business. But he's entitled to due process. If he chooses to run as an independent, I certainly welcome it. But the race that I'm running, the race that I will run, is going to be about connecting with the voter, connecting with all voters. I believe that I am the right candidate. I think that Bob Menendez, Andy Kim, they are at a different stratosphere. I have been in this world with working families, as a mom, as a mayor of a town, as somebody who is a former chef. I understand how the economy, how the increasing crime, how people's concerns about losing their rights little by little are impacting them. I see that, I hear it, and I know that connecting with the voter is going to be the most important thing, so that they know that I have their back. They understand that I'm somebody who has worked my entire life. That's how I've succeeded in life, is through hard work. That's what I would do with this job. Not go down again, and I already mentioned it before, use it to empower oneself. That's not my interest. My interest is to deliver back for New Jersey, because I feel like New Jersey has not been taken care of. New Jersey deserves better. That's my tagline, and that's what I want to do.
Mayor, real quick, I'm a foodie, and as soon as you say you were a former chef, what's your favorite dish to make?
I was thinking this the other day. What is my favorite dish? Well, I'm big on pastries, and I used to make this joke like, Somebody once said that I would make everybody a cake, that voted for me. And I thought, that's just not possible. I wouldn't be able to campaign if I did that. But, my favorite thing is whatever I feel like at the moment. And I just try to make it the very best I can.
Mayor, again, before I let you go, I know you talked obviously a lot on your website. And folks, again, check out Christine4NJ.com. That's Christine, FORNJ.com, to check out more about her campaign, her platform. If you wish to donate, certainly volunteer for her campaign.
Yeah, no donation is too small.
Yes, absolutely. Mayor, let me ask you this. Should you win the primary and go on to win in November? I know you talked about addressing the economy, talking about addressing really the way that we're funding these foreign wars that seem endless or anything else. But what else would you like to tackle in your capacity as a U.S. Senator? I know that, listen, there are senators that have been in Washington for 50 years, like Bernie Sanders, and his biggest accomplishment is renaming a post office after somebody. I know you don't want to be that type of senator. What would you really want to tackle in terms of bills that you'd like to introduce early on, should you be victorious? And again, should you get sworn in on January of 2025, what would you really want to tackle that we haven't addressed tonight, let's say in the form of a bill and or legislation you want to introduce?
Well, of course, first going in as a senator, I want to take care of the problems that are right here, right now in front of us. And the border is number one. I truly believe that nothing will get fixed until we close that border and reestablish a new process. But, going beyond, if I look years down the road, one of the things that we have, and everybody talks about it, and it is another core problem that we're just not dealing with, and that is mental health. And it's a serious crisis in this country.
It is, yeah.
And that we need to figure that out. I'm not going to sit here and say to you that I have the answers, but when I'm a senator and my ability at that point in time to connect with a variety of groups and say, we've got to come up with a solution. That's going to be an important piece of, my legacy, I would say.
Are we talking about mental health in the sense of resources, maybe more for, school districts nationally? Are we talking about maybe within different agencies, maybe funding different agencies, whether the National Institute for Health or the CDC, or when you talk about that, and I'm with you, I think that's a great topic to tackle, because mental health is an issue in this country. Coming out of COVID, 4 years later, we're seeing learning loss with our kids. We're seeing how it's still affecting people in the workplace. When we talk about mental health, we talk about maybe funding more different agencies at a federal level, or helping more nonprofits, or
yeah, I mean, and we see what happens when federal agencies get funding. They just get fatter, right?
True, yeah.
The money, and there's going to need to be money, but that money, and I think that there already is money, and we have to question, how is it being used? It has to get right to the source, right to the ground level, because this is where the problem is. Go into Philadelphia. There's an article just on New York City with the drug addiction. So many of these people, they have mental health issues. That's why they're in that situation. You've got homeless vets. Why are they homeless? Because they have mental health issues. We have to, figure that out and get people off the street so that we can start getting them treatment. It's that simple. I mean, you look at, like, folks, even the kids in school. Do you know how many, the large percentage of kids that are on some type of a mental health drug? Why is that? We've got to get to the core of really what it is that's happening. I mean, I have thoughts in my head as to what contributes to it. When it comes to the schools, I feel like these kids spend entirely too much time on screens. I don't think that helps anybody, whether it's your phone or your computer screen, TV. It's way too much time. So I think that there are some very basic things that can be done, tweaks that can be made at the educational level. People are trying some of these things, but we almost need a symposium on it. And I know they happen, but it's not working. It's not. So we need to take a look at that and figure out some new solutions, and take a look at the existing funding, see whether it's working or not. And if it's not, then we need to reroute it.
Mayor, well said there. Once again, I want to thank you for your time. I know we've got a little bit over probably what you wanted, and I'm sure your campaign people are like, what is Fernando doing? I appreciate your time here tonight, Mayor. Once again, folks, Christine4NJ.com. That's Christine, FORNJ.com. Mayor, listen, I think we've had a great conversation. You answered some tough questions. You kept your poise. I appreciate that. And I think we had an amazing dialogue about what your campaign represents. And certainly coming up on June 8th, folks, if you're not registered to vote, again, you still have time. Register to vote. Get involved in the process. Have your voices heard coming up on June the 8th. I'm sure there'll be some early voting during that weekend. I'm sure, obviously, on Election Day, we're hoping machines work. We all know how complex that could be. But Mayor, I want to wish you the best of luck once again. Thank you for coming on this program.
Thank you.
Again, for your faith in Jersey First TV and your faith in really in my program and my media brand, I appreciate it. And I want to wish you the best of luck moving forward. And should you win the primary, I want to definitely have you back on later this summer, if not going into the fall season, because we'll have a lot to talk about here. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, that's great. I'd love it. And once again, you already said it, but I hope people come see my website, Christine4nj.com. That's CH Christine FOR. Come to the website, donate. No amount is too small. Come and check us out.
Well, Mayor, once again, I appreciate your time. Best of luck out there as you're campaigning, fundraising. It must be exhausting. Have yourself a nice chamomile tea when the evening's over, okay? But once again, thank you. And once again, folks, she is the distinguished mayor of the Mendham Borough in Morris County and also a Republican candidate for the U.S. Senate in 2024. She is Christine Serrano Glassner. Join us here tonight live on Real Talk. Thank you, Mayor. Best of luck to you.
Thanks, Fernando.
Folks, good episode there. And I got to tell you that, my goodness, this is a highly contested race, and it's going to be great to have eyes on this, U.S. Senate race here in New Jersey. I know everyone seems to be talking about Andy Kim, and obviously, thankfully, with the Queen stepping down in the Democrat primary, obviously, I know Andy Kim still has two other challengers, not two people we really take seriously, in Larry Ham and Patricia Campos Medina, but clearly Andy Kim is the front runner. He seems to be probably the most definitely probably coming up on June 8th. He'll be the Democrat nominee. Highly contested race in the Republican side. We'll see between my guest tonight, again, Mendham Borough Mayor Christine Serrano Glassner, and of course her opponent coming up on June the 8th, South Jersey businessman Curtis Bashaw. Obviously, who coincidentally, folks, I'll be talking to in May. So you definitely want to mark it on your calendars. I'll be talking to him later on during this election cycle, obviously leading up to the primary coming up on June the 8th. So once again, I want to thank the mayor for her time, and really, again, a really great conversation. Again, kudos to her, as I mentioned, recently appearing on the really town hall format debate with the New Jersey Globe and Save Jersey, along with the Rebovik Institute at Rider University. Of course, there last week there, and of course also with ONNJ News, and certainly a great performance by her. And again, I look forward to seeing and talking to her opponent coming up in May during this primary season. So again, a lot to talk about, folks, during election 2024. Folks, before we call it a night, don't, again, click that share button. Sharing is caring. We got a lot to talk about. Again, my upcoming Alzheimer's awareness fundraiser, certainly all the great traffic on Real Talk here as it continues. But folks, before we get to all that good stuff, it's time for final thoughts. And ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to take a moment here, and I don't really like to get too emotional during these final thoughts, but I have to tell you that I am absolutely disgusted with Hoboken Mayor and CD8 candidate for the Democrat Party during this primary, Ravinder Bala. Okay. Ravinder Bala this week, again, I screenshotted this tweet that he has yet to take down. I don't know what his campaign people are thinking. It's got, listen, good traction. Right now, it's gotten over 59,000 views. Unfortunately, it's gotten 141 likes. I can't imagine, if you're a decent human being, why you would like a post like this about Ravinder Bala. But earlier in the week, the incumbent freshman U.S. Representative Rob Menendez out of the 8th Congressional District took a picture with his family, as you can see there, his lovely wife and his two beautiful children. And Rob Menendez decided to tweet, "This is the Menendez household and who I fight for, along with every resident and family of the 8th in Washington, New Jersey, every single day. Ravinder had the audacity to write as a response. And again, gaslighting at its greatest. You have a beautiful family, but you know who else you clearly fight for. ... Hint, he likes bribery and gold bars. Your silence about your dad tells us everything. Remember when you testified to get your dad out of jail the last time he was indicted for bribery with Mendham? Question mark. Will you testify for him when his trial starts in a few weeks? Question mark. Let me say this about Ravinder. Ravinder, again, just when you think Ravinder cannot be any more of a garbage human being, he'll always find a way to surprise us. And he never disappoints. Ravinder, you want to take shots at Rob Menendez as a person, as a candidate, as an incumbent? Hey, as we all know, it's a testy and very fickle election season. Why you feel the need to retweet a picture? You could have very easily taken a picture of Rob from his campaign page, from social media, and just used that during your tweet. But you decided, okay, to retweet a picture of Rob, once again, his beautiful wife and his two lovely children, to make a point. Ravinder, you should be ashamed of yourself. But then again, that would require Ravinder to have any shame to begin with. And we all know that Ravi Bala doesn't have any shame. We've learned that. Okay? We've learned that Ravi Bala is one of the most ethically challenged people in New Jersey politics. Okay? You can go to that website, obviously, that I have there. I've talked about it on previous episodes of Real Talk with Jersey First TV. Okay? A guy that wants to go after Rob's father. And again, folks, let me be very clear about something. Okay? I just said it right now during my my interview with Mendham Borough Mayor and U.S. Senate candidate for the Republican Party, Christine Serrano Glassner. I'll say it here again. Bob Menendez isn't just someone that, I'm one of his constituents. But Bob Menendez is a friend of me and my family. He's a guy that I can call on his cell phone and he'll answer. Maybe not immediately, but he'll answer or text back or whatever. But we have a healthy respect for each other. And there are multiple issues and policies that me and Bob Menendez disagree on. And we've had these conversations. Okay? But what Bob Menendez is entitled to, contrary to what Robbie Bala will tell you, he's entitled to due process. Just like the 45th president is entitled to due process with this witch hunt, okay, that seems to be out for the 45th president, okay? Bob Menendez is also entitled to due process, okay? And I remember reading somewhere, I think if my memory serves you correct, that even the 45th president, when there was a hung jury in 2017 during the previous trial for Bob Menendez, the sitting president, Donald Trump, even went on record as saying, hey, seems to be like a bit of a witch hunt here. Okay? Seems to be a bit of a witch hunt. But what's going on with Bob Menendez? Okay? If I'm not mistaken, I think Dr. Melgen was pardoned by President Trump when he was leaving office in January of 2021. Okay? And let's be honest, if the case was so compelling against Bob Menendez in 2017, I'm fairly sure that President Trump would have instructed the Justice Department to pursue it again. Okay? And clearly, then U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions decided against it also. So we moved past that. Clearly, the former president didn't see a need to engage in a witch hunt for Bob Menendez, right? That's public record, folks. It's not me concocting some theory. Okay? But just like the 45th president is entitled to due process during all of this witch hunt, all of this nonsense that's being levied against him, which we all know these court cases are falling apart quicker than David Cruz's New York Mets come every baseball season. Okay? Bob Menendez is entitled to due process. And Robbie should know about that since he's been sanctioned for unethical behavior with his law practice. So you should know about the importance of due process, right, Ravi? You need to believe in it, not when it suits you, but you need to believe in it for everybody. Okay? And all it takes is one juror, folks. All it takes when Bob Menendez's trial starts on May the 8th, approximately a month before the primary, and we'll see how long that trial lasts. Maybe it could go to the rest of the spring, maybe into the summer. Maybe it ends before the fall. Who knows? All it takes is one juror, folks. One juror to believe that the FBI is incompetent, which we all know the FBI is, that the FBI has an agenda, which we all know the FBI does, especially under this administration, that the Department of Justice has it in for people, which we all know they do, okay? Under this administration, here's a president that likes to incarcerate his political opponents. That's fact. We're seeing it, okay? This is a Justice Department that's not objecting to states trying to keep the president's opponent off ballots. Okay? All it takes is one juror to look at the evidence, and we'll see what the U.S. attorneys present, and we'll see what the defense attorneys for Bob Menendez present. All it takes is one juror to think, hey, FBI is not really trustworthy lately. The DOJ is not really trustworthy lately. I don't know. Maybe it is a witch hunt levied against Bob Menendez. We'll find out, folks. All it takes is one juror. So again, for all my liberal watchers, all the progressives out there, all the woke fools out there, and Democrats that are all about democracy and due process, be about it consistently, or don't be about it at all. Shut the F up if you're not going to be consistent about it. And Ravi Bala seems to be one of these people that needs to shut the F up. But he doesn't, because he would rather go for the low-hanging fruit than look in the mirror. Now, again, if you're Ravi Bala, looking in the mirror is, pretty uncomfortable. Looking at him altogether is pretty uncomfortable, but that's a conversation for another day. See what I did there, folks? Low-hanging fruit? Doesn't sound nice, does it? Yeah, that's the low-hanging fruit that Ravi Bala went for by posting that retweet. Once again, as Rob is taking an innocent picture with his lovely wife and his beautiful children. Again, Ravi, I know that ethics and decency and morality and decorum, these are foreign concepts to you, right? And just imagine for a minute, folks, just imagine, who, by the way, Ron Menendez has taken the high road a lot in this campaign against Ravinder. Just imagine for a minute, had Ron Menendez decided to retweet a photo of Ravinder, his wife, and his kids, and decide to take a shot at him. We all know, let's be honest, folks. We all know Ravi Bala will be the first one to cry racism, to cry bigotry. He'd be screaming. Rachel Maddow would be inviting Ravi Bala on MSNBC with all 9 of her viewers, where he would be screaming about bigotry and racism against him. Haven't we heard that act before, right? Levied, right? About Ravi Bala, right? That somehow, objecting to Ravi Bala is racist or bigoted. No, it's not. Ravi, have some integrity. The reason people dislike you is because you're a fool. You're a clown. And you're showing it during this campaign. And you're showing it as the mayor of Hoboken. Once again, a guy who's more concerned about pronouns than property taxes. A guy who, once again, is more concerned with repainting crosswalks during Pride Month than worrying about the flooding along Sinatra Drive. Who's more worried about drag queen story time at the Hoboken Public Library than worrying about the rats that are running rampant in Hoboken. Not the rats in City Hall like VJ with that god-awful haircut. Folks, can we start a GoFundMe and get a haircut for VJ? It's hideous to even look at my screen. Okay? Not the rats in City Hall, but the rats running rampant in garbage bags in buildings, presenting a public health hazard for seniors, for children. Right? Those are the priorities of Ravinder Bala and the rest of the Lollipop Guild that follow him, right? Joe Quintero. Folks, I wouldn't trust Joe Quintero to represent me in a traffic stop in municipal court. Somehow this clown got a law degree. But again, it just shows you it's pretty easy to get a law degree these days. When you have clowns like Joe Quintero opining on social media. Or the rest of the Lollipop Guild in Hoboken, like Emily Jabor and Phil Cohen. Remember those clowns? You need a reminder? There you go. Those clowns. Okay? Who pander to levels that are just embarrassing. Okay? Folks, let's start a GoFundMe and get these two clowns some dance lessons too. It is embarrassing. Okay? It really is. But these are the type of people supporting Ravi Bala. Okay? But Ravinder expects you to take his campaign seriously when he's acting in a despicable manner like this. Folks, I'm looking forward to that debate later this month, hosted by the New Jersey Globe and its distinguished editor, David Wildstein, between Ravinder Bala and Ram Menendez. I'm also looking forward to the other debate coming up via the Hudson Media Group, hosted by my fellow broadcast journalist and a member of the Pinnacle, John R. Hines, again, via the Hudson Media Group and Pat O'Melia. We'll see how that debate goes as well. I cannot wait for Rob to cook this guy. Because Ravinder, again, you don't have a record to run on. Again, pronouns, being woke, right? Oh, making Hoboken a welcoming city for illegals, all the other nonsense that you convey in your campaign commercials. Okay? No one's buying it. What substantive policy positions can you take against Rob Menendez, who, again, Rob and I are friends. Rob and I have talked privately, and there are plenty of things that Rob and I disagree on philosophically and politically. But we can do so in a civil manner and remain friends and be cordial and go have dinner, go have lunch, go have drinks, because we're men, because we're adults. We can do that. But you know what else Rob has done? Rob has gone to Washington. Rob has rolled up his sleeves and has done the work, and he's brought back dollars to the 8th Congressional District to help working families in all the municipalities that, again, are comprised of the 8th Congressional District. He's done the work. Okay? You may not like what's going on with his dad. You might want to say, hey, the sins of the father fall upon the son. I mean, if that's what you want to believe, whatever. Have at it, folks. But again, his father's entitled to due process. Okay? Let it play out. Just like, again, if you believe in due process, if you believe in it for the 45th president, you need to believe in it for the U.S. Senator, the senior United States Senator here in New Jersey. We'll see how it plays out. But back to this clown. Robin, you should be ashamed of yourself. There's plenty of missteps during this campaign, and you've embarrassed yourself sufficiently during this campaign and extensively. Here's one more that reminds us how despicable you really are. If you had any decency, class, morals, etiquette, or decorum, you would remove that tweet. And what's even more embarrassing are the people liking that tweet. What's even more embarrassing, folks, are the people endorsing Ravi Bala, whether it's an official endorsement or applauding him on social media. Right? Once again, how are we supposed to take Ravi Bala seriously when you look at these type of allegations against him, these types of unethical accusations against him because of unethical behavior? Again, folks, don't take my word for it. Look it up online. It's not hard to find. It just isn't. You can find everything that's unethical about Ravi Bala. It's no secret. We know. Ravi Bala wants to talk about gold bars and bribery. Again, allegedly, we're going to find out. That's why we go to court. That's why there's due process. Prosecutor presents a case, the defense argues it, and we'll let a jury pool of 12 people make a decision, and we'll see. But for Ravi Bala to talk about anyone else's ethics is rich, when Ravi Bala wouldn't know ethics if it fell from the sky. But again, another reason you can't take Ravi Bala seriously during this campaign is because of the clowns that have jumped on the Ravi bandwagon. I've talked about it before, and I'll talk about it again. We looked at David Ocampo Grajales, este campesino that couldn't win an election for dog catcher, is going to tell you, or attempt to tell you, that his endorsement means something. It doesn't mean anything. Okay? It's about as useless as a screen door in a submarine. Okay? It's about as useless as most of the liberal media in New Jersey. Take your pick, folks. There's plenty to pick from. Potheads like Matt Friedman, Charles Style, Chucky, Tommy Boy, Tom Moran, Uncle Dave, David Cruz, Sleepy Allen, Alan Steinberg. Okay? Workaholic, Max Pizarro. Okay? Little Terry, Terrence McDonald. Okay? These are the people that, quite frankly, should be doing more homework on these races. But they don't. Okay? Their level of integrity is about as valid as the endorsement from David Ocampo-Corrales. Again, I'll say it. I can say this because I'm brown and I'm Colombian. The best thing David can do is, I'll say it to you, David, I will favor. I'll even drive you to the airport. Váyate para Colombia. Regrese para el campo donde tú naciste. Vaya a pelar papas o malanga o ahí a picar fruta y hazte un batido ahí de fruta, because that's all you're good for. You're not good to give credible endorsements. What's credible about you? What have you accomplished other than saying, oh, I got signatures and I ran for office and failed miserably? Speaking about running for office and failing miserably, let's talk about Chiquitín. Hector Oseguera, all 5'2" zone. Folks, the next time you see Hector, again, be careful with your back, because you're bending down so much to look at him eye to eye. Because again, for most of us that are taller naturally, yeah, it's a struggle. You have to kind of bend down a little bit and look at Chiquitín. You have to kind of like look at him eye to eye. Yeah, I mean, you could mess up your back if you bend down that much, or maybe pull a quad by squatting so low. Again, another clown who thinks an endorsement of Ravi Bala means anything. Folks, these are the type of people Ravinder Bala likes to associate with. These are the type of people that will retweet nonsense from Ravi Bala on Twitter. These are the type of people, okay, that are trash. Simple as that. Trash humans supporting another trash human. Because if we learned anything about Ravi Bala this week, again, you can make you can sort of speculate, I don't know, what he did this week in that retweet concerning Ron Menendez. That makes you trash. That makes you, ladies and gentlemen, a garbage human being. There's no arguing this. There's no way, folks, this isn't subjective. This isn't going to like a psych exam and getting ink blots and saying, what do you see when I show you this ink blot? No, folks, this is as clear as day. Okay? When garbage supports garbage, folks, how is that even electable? Speaking of garbage humans supporting Ravi Bala and thinking highly of Ravi Bala, of course, folks, when we think about garbage humans, we think about Jay Lassiter, another useless clown in New Jersey politics, who thinks that throwing a fundraiser in his home, again, not a home that he owns or pays rent in, because that's what his, that's what her girlfriend or husband, whatever, pays for. Okay? Another useless woman in New Jersey politics that thinks that, hosting a fundraiser at home for Andy Kim is going to get you in with the Andy Kim crowd. Folks, we all know that Andy Kim has no use for people like Jay Lassiter. Perpetual potheads who bitch and moan on social media, who offer nothing, who barely work, publishes maybe one column a month, lives off her husband's money, and doesn't really do any real work. Again, he fits in perfectly at Insider NJ because nobody else there does any real work either. Okay? But these are the type of garbage people going online, bashing Ron Menendez and then supporting Ravi Bala. Jay, I would probably want to argue that you should be ashamed of yourself, but someone like you has no shame to begin with. And again, Exhibit A, right? But these are the garbage people endorsing Ravi Bala. Folks, if we learned anything this week about Ravinder, is that trash attracts trash. And guess what? His little games here, going for the low-hanging fruit, it's getting old. But then again, trash gets old and it starts to stink when it gets old too. That's the best way to summarize this campaign for Ravinder Bala. If you find anything redeeming in them, please let me know. I haven't found anything yet. We all know on June 8th, we know Ron Menendez is a better choice. It's not even debatable. And folks, this isn't an endorsement. This is just commonsensical conversation. And I can tell you this much. If I were to endorse Ron Menendez, it would mean a hell of a lot more than the garbage humans I just mentioned before. That's not folks, that's not a prediction. That's a spoiler. And those are my final thoughts. Folks, before we call it a night here, I want to once again thank you all for helping make Real Talk with Fernando Uribe a success. Once again, 17,000 views for the month of March. Very, very humbled. And you know I'm not the most humble person around, but I'm humbled by your support. That you tune in every Monday night live, and you also share the replays. And that's why the show consistently gets good organic traffic. We've seen it in March 2024, all the months so far this year, going back to 2023, going back to 2022. Folks, it's because you trust this program, because you trust me to tell you the truth. And sometimes the truth isn't always easy to hear, but you tune in because you respect me and you trust me to tell you, quite frankly, folks, the truth. Unlike my colleagues in the liberal establishment media, right? They're too busy gaslighting and virtue signaling. No, folks, none of that on this program. It's about truth, integrity, and honesty. That's what I champion on this show. Can't really speak about other journalists in New Jersey, especially those liberal ones in the establishment media. So once again, folks, thank you so much for supporting Real Talk with Fernando Uribe here on Jersey First TV. Folks, also as a reminder, coming up on Friday night, April the 26th, it is my annual Memories Matter event to benefit Alzheimer's New Jersey. You can check out more information about them at www.alznj.org. Of course, it is a privilege this year to host this event with Vladimir Carrero, Emily Amato, Yanoli Guerrero, and Jacqueline Rodriguez. We'll be greeting you as you arrive. We are asking for a $20 suggested donation at the door. We'll also have plenty of raffle prizes, a 50-50. We'll have just valet parking available on the premises. Incredible music by DJ Ziggy Roman. And folks, for everyone that loves Lolita's Mexican Cantina, located in North Bergen on River Road, hey, it's a great menu, great food, and drink selections there. You definitely want to check it out. Friday night, ladies and gentlemen, April the 26th at 7 p.m. We'll be partying all night long until closing, which is about maybe 2 a.m. Eastern time. So again, make your way out, mark it on your calendars for Friday night, April the 26th, once again, for Memories Matter to benefit Alzheimer's New Jersey. And together, we can defeat Alzheimer's once and for all. That's our show for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I want to thank tonight's guest, the distinguished mayor of the Mendham Borough in Morris County, and also U.S. Senate candidate for the Republican Party, Christine Serrano Glassner, for a very illuminating conversation. We'll have a conversation with her opponent coming up in May. You definitely want to keep, track of that one, and obviously check out my social media, and you'll see updates as to when her opponent, Curtis Bashaw, will join us here on Real Talk. Folks, I can't say enough how proud I am to be on the dream team of Garden State Media. That's right, folks. It is Jersey First TV. Of course, brand new episodes of the Nader Narrative premiere every Thursday night. And of course, brand new episodes of Bridging the Gap, hosted by AJ Malillo and Stephen Rombolo, also premiere every Thursday via www.jerseyfirst.org/TV. Of course, also on the Jersey First Facebook page, YouTube, as well as Instagram and LinkedIn pages. Folks, I can't say enough how proud I am to partner with these extraordinary men and women here on Jersey First TV. Folks, don't forget to like Jersey First and, of course, Real Talk on Facebook. Of course, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And whether you get your podcast on Spotify or SoundCloud, download Jersey First and take it with you anywhere at any time. And, of course, for all you YouTube subscribers, click that subscribe button, and you'll be automatically notified of all the great content, once again, brought to you by Jersey First TV. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for tuning in here tonight as we continue with the month of April. Great conversations, great candidates, great guests, great people to talk to. That's what we do here better than anybody on Jersey First TV. I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, Top 50 Latino, as voted on by the Latino Spirit Online magazine, along with the United States Latino Affairs Initiative. And now more than ever, folks, I'll continue to be the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, because my level of honesty is necessary in this era of journalistic deception. And of course, I'm everyone's favorite conservative. That's right. It's me, Fernando Uribe. Folks, have a great rest of your week. Enjoy yourselves. Please party responsibly. And we'll see you next Monday night here for the latest edition of Real Talk via Jersey First TV. And as always, thank you so much for watching.